Have you lost interest in automotive news? Yes, I'm getting a late start. Or does most industry content just suck? Obvious, over promoted, scripted, plastic people in a future of speculative nonsense and stupid pet tricks. Can't somebody make a decent automotive podcast that helps people at their jobs? What kind of podcast would make you come back and re-engage? What if we had real news customized for each of us? Is that even possible? Join David Ray Jr. and I as we start to explore the podcast of your dreams. Say hello, join the live chat, feel welcome. This is ATI Auto Business. What's up, automotive ecosystem? Welcome back to ATI Auto Business Automotive Ecosystem, where everybody, well, some people, learn more about how the automotive industry works. Listen, I had some stuff lined up and whatnot, but you know, sometimes it's kind of a guest crash. If you lose one guest, that's tough. If you lose the majority of your guests, that's tougher. And I didn't lose them. It just people are busy. It's a really, things are busy. So what we're going to do, David is here. David Ray Jr. Tom is on a plane now. Todd is going to be on a plane soon. So that leaves me and David. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to have a Zoom call about geez, guys, what are you doing? Now, I feel like I know what we're doing. And then David, go ahead and get ready because I'm going to have you join soon. And Mark was in the live chat. Probably still is. Party of one. Because, and I had a news segment, man. I was working on the news today, but, at this point, we're already 10 minutes late. I don't feel like doing the news, so I'm just going to skip it, and that's okay. And a lot of it was, and maybe we'll come back to the news. A lot of the news was, is this news? Because I really do believe that I think overall people are skipping the news, and I think part of the reason is that LinkedIn has, for the most part, just become kind of a popularity contest. Even, content itself has become a popularity contest. I used to sit in, I tell you, hey, what's up, Mark? Thanks, buddy. Ding. When I used to go to the trade shows, I'm probably not going to go to the trade shows anymore either because there's probably several reasons, actually. One is budget. Two is, I don't know. What is the point of the trade show? There are great networking opportunities, but half of it's throwaway. So, and which is actually why, did you know that a lot of the kind of upper crust folks, they don't even really walk the halls and go to the sessions? So it's the sessions, because it's the content that I've always cared about. So let's talk about, I sit in these sessions at major trade shows, and there are so many empty chairs. I'm always like, where is everybody? And you know why those chairs are empty? Because the content, it's just boring. It's not the audio and the video system. It's that the content is boring. It's a commercial. You've already heard this stuff, or you can catch it on one of many speculative YouTube channels. It's a problem. So I sit and I'm thinking about that. Why travel and spend money to do that? What is the point? People aren't tuning in, and I've seen businesses, they come and go with their their bloggy updates or their, I don't know, OEM news or whatever. People don't tune in. Or how about the big companies and David, go ahead and join when you get a chance and I'll bring in the really, really big companies that spend money on promoting their shows and kind of throwing together shows. Nobody's tuning into that either. Even businesses that have webinars that you trust or or at least even pay for, You don't tune into those either. I mean, there is like the lack of actual community, and I really believe that by by holding up and pandering to certain groups, we all know we see groups that we think are pandered to, is the beginning of that malaise, because there's no longer authenticity in some of these like awards, or like, I mean, like, what are we all celebrating here? Are we waiting for the are you just waiting for that part to end? Just serve me the brisket and get on with it, right? Or that's, and if you look at when next time you're at a lunch, look at what they're saying. This is the stuff you would never tune into, but they got you. You're eating. Anyways, this is what I think about. This is why I wonder, is there a way to make a better auto podcast? All right, David, if you're ready, let's do this. Let's see if we can get David up in here. All right, David. There he is. What's going on, David?
Good to see you, Jay. How you doing?
Hey, man. Good to see you. Never a dull moment when live.
Oh, of course.
Right? And hope that, I mean, I planned on having a part 3 anyways. So we were just talking on the phone, like, what are we doing, right? Okay. We had a part 1. It was June 3rd, I think. And
early June, yeah.
I called it media research. And it was me spouting off a lot. And actually, part of my plan tonight was to let you guys talk more. So there goes that. But part 2 development, because I'm not a tech guy. Where do we start? Have you, and let me say this, have you seen some of the ads? There's new ads now where, like, adults are saying teens are in their bedrooms making businesses with AI.
Right.
All right, how?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of use cases. I think recently I've just been kind of fascinated by just voice AI. Like, it's at the point now where you don't really need to be super technical, although you do need to understand if you want to kind of productize these things now. But I mean, really what it comes down to, it's, how do you develop a script? What voices do you use? How do you kind of get all of the audio together? And then where do you publish it? I think, those are kind of the 4 components. So in this case, when we're talking about things like a podcast and making it interesting, the tech is there. It's almost more like, how do you define interesting, right? Like, I don't know, how, is it interesting to somebody that's working at a dealership versus somebody that's working in transportation? Like, that's where, that's what I'd be curious to know, what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I have endless opinions. Like, that's my superpower. Endless opinions. Okay, so I started thinking about this. I feel like the real answer is, if we're being honest, we need to find a way to where the podcast has customization to the individual listener. Because it's the template, the catch-all, that's what's losing people.
I could see that. I think it's, it is challenging because there's so many, everyone's got different interests depending on where you are in this industry. Just as someone who builds and makes things, I think the craziest part to me is just that we're at this point where you can do that. I think it's like so fascinating. And for me personally, using voice AI, it's not like theoretical. It's, stuff I've already done as we've talked about off air, but like, yeah, I'm using voice AI to do real things in the world. And it's working. So, a lot of directions we could take it.
Well, and you know what, by the way, David, I love that you keep saying voice AI, because you can't have a podcast without voice AI. So I love that. And I've been interested in voice AI ever since I heard of it because I think that is so amazing. And I want to ask you about the mobile park stuff soon,
Sure.
right? Because I listened to a little bit. I didn't know what I was listening to, and I know that you could help clarify. I
Sure.
think I know, but I wasn't sure. All right, so when I look at the ecosystem, here's the bad news. For anybody that doesn't like ATI, the bad news is I've gotten this far. So I'm not done yet. The good news is I'm not tainted by corporate chains. And I think that's necessary if we're going to actually figure out something good. Because it's corporate chains that kill content. That's why most automotive content sucks. I mean, I just was reading that one of the major automotive content companies, they're like, yeah, for 10 grand we'll give you these sections. If anybody pays 10 grand for a couple sections, they're going to do super corporate. It's going to be, there's no way that's any good to listen to unless you're like one of 5 guys on the jet. Right?
Yeah. I mean, it
There's
just,
no
I think,
way.
like most industries, it just comes across as a little sterile.
It's like like what does Jeff Bezos watch?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is the problem, though. If we don't personalize the podcast, then people in logistics are going to be so bored by the boring OEM rich guy stuff. But they do need some of it.
Sure.
And so I want to help develop the AI podcast that understands, and you know what we both know, that's not impossible, because if the podcast, if you create a simple profile, actually, you know what, okay, what made me think about that is, like, I have not Spotify, Pandora.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And I've created 2 bitchin' channels on Pandora. One is Red Hot Chili Peppers Radio.
Nice.
It's awesome. In fact, now when they advertise Plush, I'm like, dude, mine kills Plush. Because, I mean, I've been listening to it for years. Like 8 years, 7 years. And it's really good. I mean, you got only rockin' songs, but you got Red Hot Chili Peppers and the Shins and all kinds of different bands. And I programmed that. So the AI podcast, if it sees your LinkedIn and some other things that you do, it's going to understand where you are in the auto industry.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways you wouldn't even, I think on a technical level, if you were just looking for informative, sources of information for each of these various components on the wheel you just shared, and you go get data about or go find these news articles, then you generate a script from that. You plug that script into a voice AI platform. You kind of create the like packaging of the podcast episode, and I think Bob's your uncle after that. I mean, there's levels of complexity you can add, but
Right.
I think, if you really wanted to customize something for, each of those various sections in terms of the profile of your audience, I think it's certainly doable.
So part 1, I'm going to say personalization. I think personalization is even more important than, honestly, anything else. Because again, if you work in remarketing, let's talk about, it's the auction group that really I find so funny at times, because they say they're so open-armed. They're not at all. And so, and I don't think anybody really appeals to them. And then they create the remarketing vertical. They've created some of their own content. It's just terrible. I don't even think that vertical likes the remarketing vertical content. So, but it could be done if there was an AI that said, oh, You work in the remarketing vertical. Here is some auction news and other things related to, well, logistics. See, and that's another thing. What matters to each vertical? Well, logistics matters to all of them, but none of them want logistics to seem like the main news. Most verticals in automotive, see, this is where I said I have endless opinions. I
Sure.
can out program this. Most here, all I do is speak truth. Most automotive verticals don't they don't like it when logistics is featured first.
Mm-hmm.
I think they find that kind of dumb
Okay.
because logistics just happens. You know, like when you put the car hauler up on the pedestal with a gold cup, they're all like, "No, that's dumb." They appreciate golf and things like that. That's what speaks, number one. I'm sorry, it's just true. So, so you can't make this like dumb content. They don't like it. Dealers, they like to see who the top dealer groups are, mergers and acquisitions, vehicle acquisition, auction, wholesale, retail, used cars.
Mm-hmm.
And again, so I can help program it, but this personalization is a must. If we're going to make a successful AI podcast, we have to be able to personalize it. So I'll hand it back to you and say, do you think there's a way to tell? How would you tell the AI to code that or whatever?
Well, I think it's just chaining some automations together. Really, it just comes down to the script, in my opinion. So when you're, like a potential idea here could be just have an agent go scrape, or not even an agent, but just scrape websites, find news that's relevant to logistics. Once you have that, then you can connect that to some automation that will say, here's the news for the day, generate a podcast script. And then
Okay.
you connect that to a voice. And so, you
So
know,
wait a minute.
yeah.
What about this? Scrape the LinkedIn posts and develop news based on the topics in my LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is a little tricky,
It
unless like
is.
it's a little tricky because you can't just scrape it without having, access. There are some tools that do that, but I don't think they do those very well. I don't know if you heard about a company that was shut down a couple months ago that was kind of known for being able to access data on LinkedIn. So I'm always a little hesitant to go down the LinkedIn path. But in essence, I think what you're asking is more, how do you figure out what people are into? Um, I don't know if there are other sources. Like for some projects I've worked on, we've used things like Reddit to figure out what's kind of the sentiment in on this topic. Um, and then from there you can go find, related sources to figure out, okay, this is what most people are talking about. Here's some news that's relevant to that, and kind of pair those together. Um, but yeah, I think even just, always in tech, it's always like 0 to 1, like a proof of concept, if you will. Um, I'm sure there's a dozens of websites that would just take, if you were to say remarketing, or if you were to look at logistics and just look at what's being talked about, create a script that would be informative, educational, add a little personality. Um, and all these AI tools, it's there, and I think it's feasible. I think maybe it's, do you start off doing the kind of the one man show where it's like someone solo podcaster just riffing on topics? Do you have, two people talking back and forth? There's a lot of ways you can take it.
So and those are good questions. I mean, how the host jumps in, but I think okay, I'm going to go to we're going to go to AI host later, but I just learned something like scraping LinkedIn.
Hmm.
That's interesting. But what about people's video feeds? Because everybody watches video, and
Hmm.
isn't that more telling about what we're really interested in? How is there a way to do that? How would you do that?
I haven't used those yet. I want to say Gemini or Google released, I think, is it Vito? I forget the name of the tool, but you're seeing these with like short form advertisements where people are like recreating their face, copying their voice um, to produce the sound, and then just creating like 30-second ads or 1 minute ads. And in theory, if extend the time, the length of time just to do the same thing with the podcast. But the tools out there are pretty crazy. I've seen some stuff. I haven't built with everything yet, but the more I start tinkering and figuring stuff out, it's pretty impressive what you can do.
Okay, perfect timing. Because I said in our research, I also think not only personalized but interactive. And
Hmm.
look at this in the live chat, 925, right on cue as we rehearsed. Not true. Uh, how will AI help carriers? See, right now podcasts are not really interactive, right? You're listening to them, but here 925 is asking a question which I think needs to be part of the future AI podcast is that when I'm listening to sometimes I actually enjoy another podcast. There are those moments. And I wish there was a way to bookmark and explore further, but there isn't.
Yeah, I think some of the ways it could help carriers now, and this might be a good segue into some of the things that I built recently, but if you think about it, if you're a carrier and you're looking for loads and you're crawling load boards, trying to figure it out, essentially a voice AI agent could be booking those loads on your behalf one day. Let's say you're trying to develop relationships with shippers or brokers. You can create voice agents that will go, upload your list of phone numbers. It will go call them and, schedule a meeting for you, or maybe open up a lane or something like that. So that's kind of on the outbound side. Let's say you connect it to like your calendar and you get a call coming in. Can you take this load going from, Houston to Phoenix? And it can just go look at your schedule and like what you have booked and say, oh, I'm not available, and it can negotiate rates. Like that technology is there. And I'm not just saying this because it's like a theoretical thing. Like I'm already doing this with not in the logistics industry, but in commercial real estate, where I've worked with a group of commercial real estate investors, and whenever they're thinking about buying a property, they need to go collect all of the rent information to make sure that, okay, if its average rent is 1,500, this property makes sense. So the agent can go out, call properties in the surrounding area, figure out what everyone else is paying for things like rent, utilities, parking, and then they can say, okay, this deal makes sense. And so as we're exploring other opportunities to call property owners and figure out, if they're willing to sell, like the AI sales development rep is probably one of the initial places I would recommend people consider. Um, but yeah, I could see a million use cases coming out of the use of voice AI like today that are actually working and people are building.
So, right, going back to 925, hey, how will AI help carriers? My question for 925 is what information would could an AI voice agent help you with right now? And what I mean is, yeah, based on what you said, like let's say I'm watching this show and are we're talking and I'm talking about the ecosystem and someone says, "Hey, do you know the guard shack hours at Mannheim, Atlanta?" And I guess what we're talking about right now pauses, and the agent goes, "I can answer that question for you." And
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think it's more like with voice AI specifically, if you're on the phone in any way, or if somebody's calling you in any way, depending on the complexity of that conversation, voice AI is going to play a huge role in logistics in the years to come. So if I'm a carrier and I know I need to call on as many loads as possible just to get booked, AI can potentially accelerate your ability to get to that point. If you need, we all know we need to call shippers and we need to call brokers and build those relationships. Like these are things that can be done today.
So maybe instead of focusing on scraping your social media, which sounds a little more challenging than I realized, uh, we could let's go to my news then. Let's skip ahead of my news and okay, here we go. Here's a random This is random national news right now. Now, the reason I showed this is because I was proving that I'm the ecosystem. Because I'm the only automotive channel that will put this on the screen.
Sure, sure.
Okay, but it's not like it's just me. There's a lot of people talking about this kind of stuff. So, what if the AI auto podcast of the future understood this next level personalization of stuff you actually care about beyond automotive, so that it's other stuff too, but again comes back home to automotive information.
Hmm.
I don't think we have that kind of channel.
Yeah,
Yeah, go
I'd be
ahead.
surprised if any industry, has that
Well,
level of
I'm
customization.
glad you said that. Is that a good idea or is that a bad idea?
I think my recommendation, test it out in you've built a successful podcast and YouTube channel in this industry. So, start with what you know, see how it works, and that kind of sets the framework for how you could do it essentially anywhere. But it would be really difficult. I mean, it just becomes like, is it a startup? Is it just something, you want to do just to, because that could be a pretty uh, heavy
Uh,
lift to get the hyper
okay.
personalization.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that. So, is this going to be expensive?
No, it's nothing like
No.
that. It's not
Okay.
about the cost. It's just more, when you're talking about personalization, it's how far, how
Okay.
much do we need?
All right. So,
Um,
we're going to pause personalization. Okay? That'll be next gen. And interactive might also be, I mean, this gets back in what is the foundation of our AI auto podcast? Let's do some more news here, and I think we're gonna. I bet we find the answer, because that's why show one was media research. Okay, I did this show, and oh man, you know what? This ended up being an amazing conversation. Me and John Larrick, we really covered a lot. In fact, he kept saying, "Gosh, Jay, that's a pretty big topic that you're getting into." And we talked about non-English speaking carriers, which isn't really a scamming issue, but again, that's another great non-English speaking carriers is one of those topics that people feel like they can't talk about. I want to say I asked ChatGPT a question the other day, and it gave the answer, and then it removed it and said this content violates our company policy.
oh, interesting.
And I thought, well, it doesn't. I mean, it was a news story that I was reading, and I wanted further information. It went ahead and gave the information and then removed it. And I thought, are we going to censor ourselves out of decent content? Is that going to happen?
I mean, it's possible, the policies, you know, I don't know exactly what you wrote to it, so it's really hard to speak to. I don't think we're going to censor ourselves out of decent content. I think it's um, maybe the angle just, no, I'm not really sure because I'm just thinking what's broadly applicable. Like when I saw the chapters in the video you sent. I know I'm kind of going back to voice AI again, but
You
like,
were interested, right? I see that. Whenever I share that stuff, people do read it.
well, if you think about, again, real world applications, right? If you're a non-English speaking carrier, but you are speaking through uh, using voice AI, it could translate in real time for you. It could solve some of the problems in terms of communication that if you're not as comfortable speaking in English with the dispatcher or somebody else that's looking for your location or your estimated arrival time. This is where real world applications of voice AI come in that can really help people and make a difference.
Okay, so you just kind of proposed an idea. All right. Because one of the things you said, you have a big archive. Why don't you tap into that, right?
Mm.
All right, so I made this show. What if the AI could ride on the back of this show? And so, hey I watched why online scammers are winning the auto transport load board. I'd like to hear more about the non English speaking carriers topic. Could the AI ride on the back of pre made content, but then elaborate without anybody actually at the wheel?
I had something come up like this that was very similar. So I know I'm kind of switching industries here, but when the voice AI agent was calling and collecting information about rents, or if someone's calling asking about whether they want to sell their property, I didn't program it or guide it to say anything related to taxes. But the person on the phone said, "Oh, I'm not really sure I want to sell my property. I don't want to take a big tax hit." And the agent instantly responded with a recommendation of a tax law that they could take advantage of, and also said that I'm not a tax advisor. So it has access to the web. It's more of, kind of making sure you put some guidelines on it so that it doesn't, if you're negotiating a rate per se, or if you're trying to book a load, like making sure you don't commit to something that you can't, that will hold you legally liable.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. And so what I'm thinking about is, okay, I want to what if we stick with this idea for a little bit where we build an AI that rides on the back of my shows and that helps continue a topical discussion. And like 925 said, I said, well, what would you like help with? He said, enabling to find and transport cars and build relationships with brokers. So let's say 925 is listening to an AI continued conversation of this video,
Hmm.
and he said, okay, that's interesting about, like, he's speaking to, he's interacting with the AI
Hmm.
just like you can, because you can live agent this is live agent AI, right?
Sure.
Or whatever. Okay. And he's, okay, fine with the non-English speaking carriers. Listen, I need to book a car, and I've got access. I'm a Central Dispatch user. Can you help me look for cars on Central Dispatch right now? Like, just switching gears. Could the AI do something like that?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. When 925 mentioned things like building relationships with brokers and shippers, it's similar application, just in a different industry. Whatever the list of questions or information that you need to get, it can go do that by itself. So let's say you have a list of broker phone numbers, to make this more concrete. You have a list of broker phone numbers and you just say, "Hey, I need to know what lanes you guys are looking for. I need to know, um, I'm not sure exactly what a carrier would ask, but what lanes are you looking for? Like three or four questions and an email at the end of it, or a scheduled appointment time to talk a little bit more about it and figure out how to build a relationship. But these things are, I've built stuff like that that does that today just for real estate. So I'm seeing this work. And I think that's where, like, hopefully that makes it a little more concrete for people so they understand if you're not a master in, and this a little bit of a side quest here, but the thing with these tools, it's the, I guess, conversation engineering of it, if you will, which is kind of nerdy way of just saying like, how do you design how the AI agent should talk to people? But if you're not a master in sales and you don't know things like how to build rapport, how to open with people, how to mirror their reactions, then that's where voice AI can really help you. If you're a weak negotiator, it could come in and, handle those things for you. So if you're, whether you're a solo owner operator and you want to build those relationships while you're out on the road, it could be making those calls and building those relationships, or at least getting you to the point where you might be able to build those relationships. So see it as a huge opportunity, and the use cases are endless. It's just, what do you want to do with it?
I was sitting here thinking about, because 925's talking about building relationships with brokers. And before I get on to the next comment, I was thinking, well, I haven't really had many brokers come on and talk.
Hmm.
That was actually one of the things I was hoping I could achieve. But, you know, I think there's a reason why, and that is that they all kind of say the same thing. To some degree, the ones that have come on, I've had some great conversations with like Assertus. Not many though. But what if we could set up? What if? But which is kind of weird. I mean, that there's so many brokers, but there's so many conversations that never happened. But I know that's because companies worry about image and all this stuff. What if? What if an AI could be built? An AI like get to know the broker AI. And this AI contacts brokers and says, are you interested in building relationships with carriers that are leveraging AI to get to know you better? Can you answer these 5 questions?
So you're saying it would call the brokers?
Could AI? Yeah, because I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's like anything you're doing on the phone right now, in terms of workflow, if I like just for 9 to 5, just think, when I'm receiving a call, what is this about? When I'm making a call, what is this about? And, if you can kind of bucket those into, these are ETA calls, these are calls about booking loads, these are calls about searching for loads, like all of those areas are ripe for opportunity. I'm pretty sure people are out there doing it. Um, I haven't really looked into it, to be honest. But yeah, these are all areas where, if you're on the individual owner operator to grow their business would have to, probably could make what, 50 calls a day, and maybe 10 people pick up and maybe one is interested. But if your agent is out there doing it for you with a list of 10,000 numbers of brokers, and at least setting an appointment or setting a time for you to call them, and then the solo, an owner operator could turn into, they could scale their business essentially, because they would have those relationships while they're on the road.
Okay. I'm thinking all kinds of stuff. That's why I like chasing this crazy show idea. What could we build an AI that would summarize other automotive content?
It depends on the format, but pretty generally, yeah, you can just,
But everything's right. Everything's either a video or a podcast.
yeah.
Could we build an AI that goes this week, right? How about it's Thursday, and we've already checked out the latest CBT news videos, and we think this one stands out. This one is blah blah blah. Could
Mhm.
that AI be built?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're just connected. I mean, a very simple way to say is, if you select a list of articles, let's say you do it manually to start, you just pick the articles, it will generate the transcript that will connect to the voice, and then
Could the AI? How about could the AI put up on the screen? Choose from these 4 videos. Which one would you like summarized?
you would need your own distribution. So you couldn't use like a Spotify, because you don't control the interaction layer between like how you would choose. But maybe if on a website,
All
or
right. So again, that's interactive. That's later.
yeah.
And I remember we talked about choose your own adventure. I still believe in that. I just know that yeah, that's okay. Let's do summarize, and instead of saying CBT, because right now somebody at CBT is already called an attorney. So let's say there's an let's make an AI that summarizes ATI shows.
Okay.
Okay, that's legal, right? We haven't broken any laws.
Your content, you're good.
Okay, all right. So AI to summarize, and again, let's go back to that scammer show. ATI shows. As we've been talking, are you thinking of custom AI tools that we could use to do some of this?
Yeah, I've been the one, at least for voice creation, it's been 11 Labs, the one we mentioned, I think, on the previous show. Um, just because it's so realistic. I'm telling you, when I was showing my dad the other day, and I was like, "This is my agent interacting with a real human." He's like, "I didn't." It's kind of the same thing you said. I didn't know what I was listening to. That's how close they are to sounding realistic. Like I don't. I think sometimes when you hear the voices that they're using, it's really difficult to decipher depending on how well you create the agent to figure out, okay, which one's which one is AI and which is the human. So 11 Labs is definitely one for those. And then with creating the scripts from these, you could, any ChatGPT, Google Gemini, all those tools
Okay, that's what I was going to
were how
ask
you
you.
chain
So,
it together.
so 11 Labs does the voice, but as far as the Hey AI, go summarize this show, you would use like a GPT?
Yeah, or any tool. So, if, provide a transcript and maybe like, I guess a small proof of concept would be take the transcript from the show, generate the script, either clone your voice or use somebody, use a voice that um, sounds realistic, and then add on the visual layer. I haven't used those tools yet, just because mostly it's been voice AI stuff for me, but the visual component, you could turn it into like a 1 minute reel for every show you've ever done. That could be a potential, like
Oh,
smaller. And as you kind of expand the idea, you could say, all right, now we know we can do this for a reel on YouTube, and then maybe expand that to a larger podcast. I'm just kind of riffing here, but yeah.
I like it. Okay, so, but what would be the easiest way to start something like that? Again, I'm not a technical guy, so I'm leaning on you and
Yeah.
Todd and Tom, right? Because I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to know what Todd and Tom think, but yeah, the way I'm thinking about it, just kind of on the fly, is just shoot me a transcript. And
Do I need to do that? Can you tell an A? Is there an AI that you can tell? Hey, go to ATI Business. ATI Business. I don't even know my channel. Can you go to ATI Auto Business and give me a 1 minute summary of the recent scammer show? Is there a way to? Can you do that? Can we do that?
I haven't checked YouTube's APA,
Ah, again,
oh,
it gets into scraping YouTube.
yeah.
This is the technical issue, isn't it?
It's not, I mean, it's not like it's nothing crazy. It's just, it's possible. I just haven't looked at, I guess that's what I'm saying. I haven't looked into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. Let's say okay. Then, since we don't know that, can I? Okay. You need the. What do you need? You want the transcript of the show?
You record everything on Zoom, right?
I do.
If you have,
Well, no, not. I use OBS. But keep going.
if that tool has the transcript, then I think we would have
I
it.
have. I have a summary. I have a. Okay. Wait. I do have an MP4 file of the show.
You can turn that into a transcript.
Right. Like with like Descript or something.
I
Or
mean, there's a variety of tools. So to give you an example, I've done this with sales calls to audit sales calls where they provide all of the call recordings in MP4 format. and then I'll turn that into the transcript, and then I'll basically evaluate the transcript of a sales call, and AI will kind of make suggestions, recommendations, and feedback for the sales reps.
So if okay, so let's say I have an MP4 file.
I think
What should I do with it?
just send it to me.
I'll send it to David. All right. I'm going to send you an MP4 file. What if I do it now?
We're good to go then.
All right, so let's see if I can. I'm going to, and I don't know how big it'll be. Let's say I'm going to call this ATI MP4 file. And I'm going to send you, let's see here. I'm going to send you the MP4 file from the Scammer Show. Praying your car gets there. And, okay. Why online scammers are winning. This is the MP4 YouTube file. Oh shit. It's 500 meg. Is that okay?
Yeah, if you do you have like Dropbox or any of those?
It's gonna use Google Drive, I think. It's uploading to Google Drive right now.
All right, yeah. Yeah, if you just share that with me, I'll see.
And then once you get it, I'll delete it.
Yeah, I think like it just, not to make it a super technical show, but it's not so much when it comes to using these tools, it's the underlying technology is there. It's really more like how do you apply your style? Because if we generate the script, but it comes across as dry or it comes across as um, not educational enough. Like there's all these subjective things that people feel, but maybe can't quite articulate. So that's where it's really hard to get into how to create it in a way that we would actually like it. And that's where, like, as I mentioned with the voice AI agent, like I really believe this. There's like this skill set of like conversation design. And I think that's kind of where most of the legwork for something like this is how do you design something? How do you reverse engineer an entertaining podcast? Like, you like it, but why? So how do you describe that? And the better you can describe that, the better the AI will be able to generate scripts that actually match what's entertaining to people. So that's where it gets real tricky. It's not the, connecting all the tools. It's none of that. It's just more how do you tell it? How do you define entertaining?
Well, I'm glad you said that because, as Todd had said, when it comes to AI, you just got to put your canoe in the water. And that's what we're doing with this show.
Hmm.
We're putting our canoe in the water because I'm going to tell you, want to hear a secret?
What's up?
I think those other guys are going to wait because they've already got corporate chains and all these things. They're not going to do this right now. They think everything's fine. And it might be fine for a while. And things will change. Things are going to change, right? I mean, that almost seems silly to say.
I don't know about you, but I've been surprised. I know we were, messaging off air about this, but I do think there's an appetite, and I can't say it specifically in this industry, but I am seeing results and proof that there's an appetite for AI generated content. Like I think some of the craziest stuff, I won't go into it, but like some of the AI generated content I've seen online is equally entertaining in certain areas, mostly like comedy and things like that. But I think you will start to see that bleed over into, things like news, things like, education. I think there's going to be some natural resistance at first, but people are consuming AI content and people are building businesses on just making AI generated content, whether they're promoting their own business, whether they're just creating entertainment content, but like it's happening. We're here, and it's just, which, are people open to it? Does it feel right, given that I might be a director of logistics at a dealership or something like that? Or, there's a little bit of a taste profile you have to figure out, but I think it's coming.
But what you said is very important, and I am the last person to like push this digital agenda that's not true. But if it meets if it checks enough boxes of authenticity, not fake shit. Real people are more fucking fake than we could ever write in a movie. Okay? There, I said it. So because that's the standard, how can AI screw it up any more than regular people?
There's also a subtle nuance that I've realized where because I think I've created like 3 or 4 agents in the past like month or two. And what I'm realizing is every situation is different, right? So if people know it's AI, they have a expectation that might be different than when they don't know it's AI. But going into it, if they know they're getting a AI generated visual, AI generated script, you know, AI generated voice, it's really difficult to argue against, because you're opting in essentially. That's how I look about it. It's like, personally, the content that I've seen that I consume that's AI generated, I know it and I still accept it. So I think there's going to be an uh, interesting place that people get to where they're going to have to say like, oh, I know it's AI generated. It's enough. I will consume it. And I think that's where it gets interesting.
So, Moozy in the live chat, I just sent him the link to last week's show about online scammers.
Mhm.
Again, what I really liked about that show, and the reason why I think AI can make a meal out of it, is it is basically like a 40-minute Q&A with John Larrick. We'll say 30 minutes,
Mhm.
and I was asking him stuff he didn't know I was going to ask.
Sure.
I mean, we had an idea, but meaning that it was a very good organic conversation with lots of meat on the bone, and I'd love to see what AI I don't know, comes back with, how it summarizes it. But getting back to 925, because I don't want to lose 925, I totally agree that if ATI has an AI channel, it needs to be about logistics. So it summarizes ATI shows while helping improve auto logistics business, which would include, and like next on the 31st, we're going to do learn car hauling business.
Okay. Nice.
Sue was having a conversation with Constantine, and they were like, hey, you guys should do another car hauling 101 show. And I do still, and you said, man, you said you should make shorts with your dispatcher training series. I made a few, I got a few views, it was pretty cool. I'll
Mhm.
make some more. But I continue, not every week, but every other week, somebody says, can I get a copy of the spreadsheet? Thanks for the dispatcher training series. You know, this and that. So it is an ongoing thing. Um, so, all right, building the recipe for the jeez, the ATI Auto Podcast. Personalization later,
Okay.
interactive later, but fundamentally, and I was going to share this. The recipe is something like this, where we're going to do. Okay, this these are like my fundamental requirements for content. We're not doing stupid leadership stuff.
Okay.
And when I say that, I mean, honestly, people are being. I can't believe the auto industry even puts up with some of the ways that, like, leadership people, they act like your children. not not like your children, but they treat you like you're a child. You know, like some of the things they say are just, I can't even believe that they're coming out of their mouths. What are you, 4? Like, stop treating me like I'm a child. Also, shows that are all about the future of automotive and the future of speculation and blah blah. So that's stupid. I can speculate until the moon turns
Sure.
white, whatever it is. Right? Okay, an awards for no reason? No, we're not doing that. We're not doing awards for no reason. I can't believe how many awards the automotive industry has now. I think it's you know what? When I read this, I was thinking about this. I'm like Nirvana killing the hair bands. Because one day people are going to go, you know, Jay was right about this stuff. We have way too many awards, way too much speculation, way too many people treating each other like they're children,
Sure.
shoveling leadership. Job promotions on paper, oh my God. If you go from a level 2 to a level 3, that is not news in any way sense. But if it's your friend or your boss, I believe that your podcast may want to inform you about it.
Okay.
But you don't need to go on and give likes and confetti and all that crap. That's dumb. Okay, also single digit percentage change of anything. David, if you have 20% orange juice and it goes to 21% orange juice, that's not news. It's not. Rich executive feel-good stories. Again, Jeff Bezos. I don't care about Jeff Bezos' yacht. It makes me feel bad. And sponsorship obvious, which is literally the worst.
Yeah.
The worst. And this is half of all automotive content. There are literally companies that have built company podcasts that nobody can freaking listen to because they're so bad. We're not doing that stuff. You know what? When you cut all of that out, oh my God, we just cut 75% of the crap that automotive likes and shares on LinkedIn.
Yeah, you just made me think about something where
It's crazy.
I think part of the challenge could be framing it not could be framing it as though the news is kind of the source of truth and you have to filter through it. I think there could be an angle where I don't know if you've used tools like Deep Research or Perplexity or any of these, but essentially they crawl the web and then bring you the most relevant information. And so I use it to say, like an example would be I want to find all relevant information in the automotive industry for logistics, for a carrier. Go crawl the web, look for information that doesn't have, that's excludes what you just shared, and then um, figure out the educational component, figure out the questions that 925 was asking and add that to your prompt.
Right.
And then just kind of like almost like forget the old way and maybe think about it like that's the first thing. And then based on those articles, create something that helps 925 in the way that he was asking, that person was asking and say, as a carrier, I need to create a podcast script that will be informative for somebody who's trying to grow their logistics business or their trucking business, and maybe give some additional details. This person might have 1 to 2 trucks. They might work in a certain state or just anything along those lines, just kind of creating a profile, generate a script that educates them, informs them, tells them why it's important. And then that could be kind of the proof of concept, turn that into some reels and see if it helps people. Because I think for me, at the end of the day, I'm not so tied to the way we do it. I just want it to help people. I think there's a lot of information out there that, like you said, 70% of the news is kind of garbage. And I think this does represent like a real opportunity to help people at a scale that wasn't previously available to us.
So, okay. So let's go back to I like what you said about 925. Where would you type that? Where would you type or prompt? I should say prompt, right? Type is
A lot of
80s.
it's a lot of prompting, yeah.
Where would you prompt? Help me build an an auto podcast for a guy like 925 looking to build his car hauling business. Where would you prompt that?
I mean, any of the LLMs, ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity. I don't want to get like tech bore your audience with
I want to bore him a little bit. Can we do that? I mean, this is where I know that I was trying to implore in that email that I sent to you and Todd that what I want to try to do either on this show or the next show
sure.
is I want to actually start to roll up our sleeves
Yeah.
and start coding, which Todd started to do on research, but I was bogging him down with opinions.
Yeah, I mean, just because, so I'll again, I hope I'm not boring the audience, but I'll explain it as succinctly as possible. Essentially, what you're doing is you're asking one of these tools to go, scour the web, find me what's relevant based on a set of criteria that we define. So you have that slide that you just shared. So we would say something like that. We would say this is the target audience. We would say this is what we don't want to look for. This is what we do want to look for. Give it 10, 15 minutes. It comes back with some results. Take those results, go to a similar tool, ChatGPT or Gemini, whatever, and then say, I found these results on the internet. I'm trying to create a script for a podcast episode. It needs to be informative and it needs to be educational. It needs to be actionable and it needs to it needs to tailor towards someone who's scaling their trucking company from 1 to 6 trucks and they've been in business for 2 years. Then you take that output and then you put it into 11 Labs or one of these tools, and then it creates the voiceover. Then you connect that to the visual component, and then uh, there you go. Package it and then publish.
So, okay, I just wrote down. So what I think is the show on the 31st will be the things that would help somebody like 925 starting out. Okay? I just said the things we don't want in the show. And you just said, but we also need to know what do we want in the show, such as equipment, insurance, right? Load boards. How do we look? Are you right? How do you look for loads? Am I wrong or what?
Honestly, if I'm thinking about it, that might be the better use of the technology. So starting from the news might be it's good, but what if you start from the problem? Like, what if you just say, you have a wealth of knowledge, you've worked in the industry for a long time, you know what the kinds of questions that people watching the show are asking. What if we just start there and we just say, the podcast is just educating carriers. It could be educating brokers. It could be educating, and the news is almost irrelevant. It's just useful for 925 and everyone like that person to say, okay, I'm listening to this because it's telling me how to grow my business. It's telling me how to build more relationships. It's telling me how to watch out for things like insurance. It's telling me these are the tools out there that I should be using. These are the things that I should be thinking about. And then you're kind of news agnostic at that point where the news doesn't really matter. You're just creating the most informative content for, like I said, 925 and everyone in their position.
So it's very interesting because I'm thinking, okay, I agree with what you said, and yet news is what we live,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there are moments where we have to do business,
Sure.
but there are moments around that packaged bit where we are living,
Sure.
and
Absolutely.
right, yeah.
I see what
And
you're
so
saying. Yeah.
I want to acknowledge both pieces of our mind.
Yeah. It's almost like, how do you do both?
Which I think is why that's why part of the reason this whatever this show is challenges some people. because I've ran into executives that can tell that, well, clearly Jay knows something, but he really offends me at other times.
Sure.
And I'm like, well, but that's real life. But you're right. You live by corporate chains.
Yeah, and I think it really, I mean, to put it, at least the way I think about it simply, is just what do people want to consume, and that's that's they can think whatever they want. I just think it's important to deliver the value. If the people that watch this show are entertained and informed, and a podcast can do that and it can help you scale that up, I think that's a big opportunity. I'm kind of like the hacker or maker, builder, whatever you want to call it. So I don't have a strong opinion. It's just more, I think as we're consuming content in different ways, I think that the avenues that were traditionally explored, I think we're going to see this huge shift over the coming years to where you don't care if it comes from a company or just some AI, I don't know what you want to call this, corny, but AITI or something. I don't know. But like,
I know, I was thinking
yeah,
about that too.
yeah, but like,
Well, it is weird that ATI is 2/3 AI.
yeah, yeah. So like, yeah,
That's
however,
just kind of lucky.
however you want to do it, but I really do believe the way we're going to consume content, what feels relevant, I just think it's going to shift, and I think the scalability,
It absolutely is. It's already shifting. Dude, let's go through some of my news. And I want to say this, because we're on a lot of philosophy here, but I think it's okay. And the reason why I think some of this philosophy is okay, because it's still some of the most authentic automotive content being made right now.
Sure.
I'm telling you, I'm guys, I'm like you, I'm tuning into some of this stuff, and I can't believe how freaking boring it is. It's awful. It's so corporate, dry, crappy. Like, how could people be blowing 5 figures on such boring shit? It's unbelievable. I mean, it's embarrassing. No wonder there's so many empty chairs at all the sessions, at all the trade shows. It's terrible. Where is the money going? Doesn't anybody care? God. All right, having said that, let's go through some news. So, like, this was some of my news that I set up tonight. All right.
Okay.
Okay, I know everybody's talking about Jeffrey Epstein. All right? And it's so weird because, like, everybody else would be completely screwed if you mention this guy, but not the top dog. However, even in his own party, there are people like, what's going on? It's the weirdest. Golly. It's like Christmas. Thank you so much for this story. It's the best. And I mean, here Musk is we're in like Musk versus Trump.
I did see that, yeah.
It's like Predator versus
Yeah.
how funny Predator.
Yeah.
Anyways, I mean, there's Musk and then meanwhile Musk, what is going on, dude? What?
Wait,
This is the new Tesla robo-taxi.
that's
What? The
interesting.
geofence service area? The world has gone crazy. It's so... Okay, Musk announced an America Party First party on the 4th of July. Now, we already have a... And it's funny. It's ridiculous. Trump says it's ridiculous to start a third party. Well, we already have that, by the way. It's not like it's just starting. We have the Green Party and the Independent Party and the Libertarians, and I don't even know where the America Party fits in. Is this the map? Okay. All right. I don't know, man. And I mean, dude, don't be worried. If he's worried about it, I think that's awesome too. Add it to the list of stuff to be worried about. We did the big beautiful bill cuts CFPP budget nearly in half. Guys, It's called deregulation, and it's always extreme. By the way, do you find that the news stories I've shared so far are irrelevant to real life right now? No, right? It's relevant.
Yeah.
But is it meaningful? I mean, what is it? Is it just white noise? Right?
Yeah,
Why do we talk about this stuff?
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure there's some underlying psychology of, maybe something to think about is the consumers of news versus the consumer of like more educational content. Like I have some friends that don't even tune into the news, and I have some people who are listening to it 24/7, or maybe there's a certain, topic or something in politics or that draws people in. It's tough to say. It's tough to say.
I know. I just love to say it because that's actually this is why I love media. Like, you go through all these, like when you sit in a movie, the reason we sit in movies is to feel something. And by doing these crazy montages of nutty news, I feel all kinds of crazy things. Trump threatens Russia with 100% tariffs over Ukraine. And I'm like, okay, so is this about American jobs still? What is this story about? Right?
Yeah.
This is diplomacy. This is exerting influence. Right? This isn't American jobs. And then I shared the Trump taco. All right, I'll skip that taco. All right, touch it. All right, Trump shifts tariffs start to August 1st. Okay, so taco. All right. South Korea car makers seek relief from U.S. port fees on vehicle car carriers. And I'm like, dude, Trump would love this story. Good, you're seeking relief, right? Good. Automakers not happy about Trump's proposed port fees. Wait. That's my voting base. Facing blowback, they're going to levy a fee of $14 per net ton. It was going to be $150 fee on every single car delivered, but then we taco. Toyota shipping U.S. cars to Japan among ideas to avoid Trump tariffs. Toyota shipping U.S. cars to Japan. Okay. Thousands of vehicles sit idle at EU port at Trump's tariffs leave their mark. I love the tariff news too because there's no way to follow it. It's just weird. It's like, Export of trucks and what they call high and heavy equipment is down by almost a third. Ooh, this has to do with this story.
Okay, yeah.
Wow. That isn't that single-digit percentage crap I was talking about. That's legit news. Damn, a third? Wow. Car buyers set a record with more than $1,000 a month car payments.
That's insane.
Whoa. And taking out 7-year loans? Wow. Who are these people? Do you know any of these people?
Can't say that I do, no.
I don't. What news are they reading? They're reading Jeff Bezos news, right? They golf. See, this is the podcast. They golf. They hit every golf. I guarantee they hit at every golf course at every trade show. They don't sit in boring sessions because they know better.
Sure.
In fact, they don't read hardly any news. They definitely don't watch ATI. They got money. Okay. I don't know what they need, actually. You know what? I bet this is the, Love Island arguing channel audience. I think once you reach a certain level of money, then you just drink too much and argue. Okay. Chase re-enters auto refinancing, targets its customer base at 30 million. Yeah, you know why? Because people are paying $1,000 a month for car payments. Heck yeah. I always thought it was weird when they exited. I'm like, why would you exit? Couple sues Missouri Ford dealership. I just like these stories because, in the dealership world, dealers are the best people ever. Better than Santa.
Hmm.
Oh, dealers are better than the Easter Bunny. The best. Oh, except for a couple Susan, Missouri Ford dealership. Oh well. Ah, you get a bad nut every so often. AI is making sure you pay for that ding on your rental car. This is fascinating. You know, in the dealer space, UVI has been just the Cinderella. UVI, UVI, UVI. And then they're putting together partnerships. And they got a partnership with Hertz. And Hertz is putting in UVIs in their rental garages. Great for UVI. You know what the public says? Boo.
Sure.
Why? Hertz and other agencies are increasingly relying on scanners that use high-res imaging and AI to flag even the tiniest blemishes, and customers aren't happy. Which is funny because I thought everybody was so honest, there was nothing to worry about.
And I'm assuming they do it before and after, right? There's the consumer, like when you're leaving the lot, you go through this, and then when you come back, you go through this. Is that, am
Yeah,
I-
I think you're right. Yeah.
okay?
That way you ain't hiding nothing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's funny how customers aren't happy. That's pretty interesting.
And it feels like nickel and diming a little bit, where I don't know, because I think I saw something.
Well, that's the world of safety we demanded, right?
Yeah. Can you scroll down a little bit? I was curious what it said at the.
The next time you run a car, the ding
Yeah,
on
to
normal
catch
is-
every little
Yeah,
scratch and yeah, puzzle
yeah,
pictures. That's
yeah,
it's kind of tricky.
yeah. Well, you wanted accountability. Or did you? And that's actually why I shared that very first story. Because I'm not sure there's this lack of accountability standard. We don't want this kind of accountability. We want that other kind of accountability.
Well,
Right?
I think it's with this
Kind of weird.
or it's just the cost. I mean, it's a revenue generating.
Well, it's not creating scratches.
Well, yeah,
Or is it?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm on the fence on this one. I don't know. I don't know if every, scratch should be charged.
I like these stories because it tests our resolve of
Mhm.
what we say we actually want.
Sure.
You know, we talk and act on LinkedIn as if we're all in uh, religious choirs all day. But we're not, are we? Real life is wild as shit.
Yeah.
But our online lives were all perfect. And when I see a story like this, I'm proven exactly correct. I was right. Again, I don't like to be right all the time. But when I am, okay. White collar workers displaced by AI could spark a revolution. I honestly don't even know what that means, but I thought the prospect might be interesting. What kind of revolution could that spark? Because people are losing their jobs to AI. What are they all going to do? Rise up?
To me, it's just this one. I'm split because I don't think most white collar work right now is at a point where you could displace an individual. Like, I don't think you could get rid of a lawyer. However, I do believe that we will get to a point where individuals who are really good at using these tools will be orchestrating these tools to become 100x better than the rest of the people who don't. And so I forgot where I read this. This isn't an original thought, but there's, people who own the orchestration of these tools, and then people are kind of control the tools, and then people who control like the power, the horsepower behind the tools. And if you get to one of those three categories, I think you'll make a ton of money and you'll have, wild success. But if you're not using them at all, there's going to be not for 925. the carrier that starts using AI and orchestrating all these agents to do a million things, you're going to see him go from, owner operator by himself
So
of one truck to 20 trucks, and it might be him and maybe one other person, or could just be him.
and what's interesting, I think that would be really great on the ATI AI podcast is 925. Here's how AI can help your business. Because I think he's asking, how can it, right? How can I use AI?
Yeah, and I hope I've been, as helpful as possible, but to make it tangible, I think, the examples that I gave earlier, can it call brokers and nurture relationships? Yes. Could it
So,
call and ask for load availability? Yes. Could it tell you, here's a plan to,
okay. Wait, how about a piece of that AI on behalf of 925?
Mhm.
Let's say so if he tells AI, "Hey, here's the loads I'm looking at right now. I'm coming out of Atlanta. I'm going to Alabama, right? I'm looking at Texas, Alabama, Florida. I'm
Mhm.
coming out of Atlanta. Can you help me contact all the people with those loads? Do you think you could do that?"
I mean, this is the very real use case is like if you were to, think about, let's say you have no plans to go anywhere, but you had every broker's phone number in the country. Say there's dozens of thousands outside of the cost of implementing something like that. You can call all of them essentially at the same time. Like there's this concept in voice AI of like a swarm. So you can have a swarm to call everybody in Texas, a swarm to call everyone in Louisiana. And the first person to respond and confirm the load, it can do that instantly. You know what I mean? So 10,000 calls are made across, 30 minutes. Like that's where I see the future of these things going. So not saying, I mean, I haven't built anything like that, but like I know it's possible. And so, yeah, I think it's gonna be it's gonna be a weird place to be, I think. And then,
What's cool, see, in what you're saying is new to. I never heard of swarm before, but
Mhm.
I love that concept. And so maybe part of what the ATI AI podcast does is help educate some of you. What you're saying
Mhm.
is help educate on what AI tools there are. And that would actually, now that's news. News you can use. What? ATI? I mean, I know I've heard that. So, news you can use. But I don't know if anybody in automotive has said that. And again, I'm so positive that all that crapola that I mentioned earlier, shoveling leadership, futurist
Yeah.
speculation, the automotive industry is hooked on that crap. So if we put our canoe in the water and keep working on this, they're so busy doing that dumb shit. That's what we got to do. And that's why, like 925, thank you for participating. What I do want is I want to see more feedback and participation on
Mhm.
this idea that could actually be beneficial. And I was searching, I was looking on YouTube. I typed in auto transport brokering
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
learn car hauling, and
Mhm.
because I used to do that, and it's just really useless stuff. It's either complaining, which I now do a lot of. Complaining is useless, right? Who wants to listen to somebody bitch and moan?
I mean,
Apparently,
there's some,
apparently 9 people.
yeah, there's some channels I've seen out there, but yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
but we
everybody.
want information in between the moaning. Um, let's see here. But I love this stuff because, yeah. And oh, I wanted to say this. I think people on LinkedIn are scared. I think they're scared of losing their jobs. I think they're scared of saying anything that their bosses won't like. I think they're scared of saying anything that their future boss won't like. Because they're so scared of losing their job, they're scared of, like, I think freedom of speech has become almost absent from the average worker's life.
Well, this is where it gets interesting, right? Is because when you're talking about creating an AI podcast where it's not it's not Jay talking, it's not David talking, it's AI. So is it a satirical episode? Is it a comedic episode? Like, just, put stuff out there and see what resonates with people. Is it educational? Is it more, you can really see what
That's
people respond to, like
okay. We're now talking 11 Labs. I'm going to tell you, you know what I like? I like that gravelly voiced female radio disc jockey. She's
hmm
kind of snarky,
hmm
but she keeps spinning tunes I like.
hmm
That's the voice I want. All
I
right?
haven't, I don't know what's out there for the,
It's got to be.
commercial real estate examples I use. It's kind of a Midwestern accent and then like I think both were Midwestern. But they have a ton of voices and yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. Like it really is what's out there.
That's another thing. I'm glad you said that because, I heard of like Road Dog Radio,
hmm
and I'm like, okay, this isn't Road Dog Radio or whatever. Like,
Sure.
we're
Yeah.
not going to have 20-minute segments about the weather or fishing. No. No. That's the other side of the leadership crap. Anyways. Okay. Let's keep going. Let's keep doing some news. Jeez, Jay. This is another thing that I want to incorporate. I keep seeing this stuff. There's no way for me to keep up, which is good because this gets into the ATI AI news you can use. Man, we need to know what the hell's going on.
Can I pause you for a second? Because
Heck yeah, you can.
I think you just said, in my opinion, and again, I'm obviously biased as someone who, makes and builds things using and with AI, but AI news you can use that's what 925 is asking. I think that's the core of what everyone's trying to figure out. They see these articles and they go, okay, I hear AI, but what does that mean? How does that show up if I'm in a dealership or if I'm in remarketing, if I work at an auction? How do I apply this or how do I sift through all of this nonsense to figure out what to do with these tools? Where do I even start? And it's overwhelming. And I understand because I was there, year and a half ago. Um, yeah, so just wanted to.
Well, you just made me think of this. Okay, how about different segments of the show have different voices, and the AI news you can use segment is your voice?
Yeah, we could do that.
I
Doesn't
mean,
take much. Yeah,
right? Because listening to you talk, I'm taking it in, I'm ready to learn, and you're delivering at the speed and pace that, appeals to my learning mind.
yeah. I wouldn't use my voice. I mean, I would have to tweak
Oh no,
my
we're
voice.
using yours.
I
We're
would
gonna
have
clone you,
to,
David.
I would have to tweak it a little bit, but yeah, I like the idea though.
I know. Believe me, when you talked about cloning my voice earlier, I'm like,
I
man,
know
I
that's
don't
exactly. I
know.
know that's exactly how I felt.
Okay, I saw this, and this was on Automotive News. I was so proud of them. Generative AI hallucinations. David, what is that?
There could be a couple of things. Like usually when I'm working with these tools and they hallucinate in this way, they call it like it lost the context window. So meaning it can only store so much information, and it's kind of like that, like as the information window that it holds shifts as you go throughout the conversation, there might be something you said at the beginning that's no longer in that window. And so it says it responds to you, but it forgot what you said maybe at the beginning. So it's kind of like this shifting scale of what it remembers. And I don't know exactly what this is in reference to, but
No, you gave a good that. Yeah, I think you answered because you made me. I did a notebook LM
hmm
where two hosts are talking. They're both
hmm
AI,
hmm
and then the one host said, "What do you think of that?" and then answered himself.
Oh yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, that's hilarious."
Yeah, these are I mean it's a lot. I mean to really
It would be a lot. Yeah, of course.
you have to really be able to
Kind of
dig.
glitchy.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah,
That's like a max headroom glitch.
well,
Whatever,
I
right?
think I don't know if when we talked about this, there was the company, I believe it was a Canadian company, where the customer service AI agent promised like a refund for a flight or something, and they had to pay it. They had to refund the customer, and
Oh, I think that was a news article.
yeah, 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 because yeah, it
Yeah.
hallucinated
Right,
and
they had to honor it because that was what the agent.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, that's interesting. Okay, that brings us to Velvet Sundown. Now, you, I told you about them. Is that right?
Yeah, we were messaging about that the other day.
Okay, and you listened to their song, right?
I haven't
Dust.
listened to it yet. I
Oh,
mean, I've listened, I've consumed AI
Dust on the Wind.
previously. Yeah.
Okay, and I find that I think the lyrics are so interesting. Dust on the wind, boots on the ground, smoke in the sky, no peace found. I find that so vague. When you listen to the whole song's like it's like this vague AI. I don't know. It's like a primitive kaleidoscope thing that it's
Mhm.
just it lacks human depth.
Hmm.
But it's no more shallow than a lot of songs on the radio. I mean, it's pretty good. And as people found out, it's confirmed now. The band is AI, but people didn't know for quite a while. And people like me didn't even know about this thing until last week because it got such steam. But it's got a lot of fans, a lot of listeners, and it's not terrible.
But I think that's kind of the indication. I mean, just kind of
Like you said. Yeah.
tying this back to, where we started. People are consuming AI generated content and not being able to tell the difference. And even when they do know the difference, they're still accepting it. And I think that's like a subtle nuance that we need to understand where it doesn't have to be, perfect, but like I think our interaction with whether we're consuming news, we're consuming educational content, music, commercials, ads, I think there's going to be a point where we just say, look, I know it's AI generated, but I'm entertained by it, so I don't care.
Well, uh, I was gonna say I was watching this documentary, and through in the documentary, I found out there are way more people globally having relationships with AI agents.
Hmm.
Right now, we're getting into yeah. I mean, it's a scary part of humanity to have a intimate relationship with AI. But it can't be that scary if it's on this global scale. It was thousands of people.
Yeah,
That,
yeah.
that's a lot of people.
Well, I think the kind of the I don't know if filter is the right term, but just as these tools progress, it's going to get uh, the line just gets blurred every new model, every new tool. It used to be we watched, listen to the news on the radio and then we see it on television and now it's shifting to podcasts and then now we're thinking about turning the podcast into an AI generated one and people are accepting these things and the line keeps shifting towards AI being good enough to generate that, whether it's relationship, I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about, but
Right. Well, this is why I'm talking because it's everything. It's a big blender, and I love that we're having this conversation. And Mark said, "Hey, man, the show worked out. David's doing a great job. David, you are doing a great job.
appreciate it, guys.
This
Thanks.
is this is amazing. I'm really glad that we went live and we're going forward with this. And in fact, looking at this news now, instead of me doing this big segment ahead
Mhm.
of time, I found this interesting. Okay, ChatGPT owner OpenAI expected to release a web browser, and here's why Google should be worried. You've probably heard of this, right?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
What is this talking about?
So I think For me, I noticed my usage of Google has decreased significantly because ChatGPT is connected to the web. So when I'm using these tools and I want to find restaurants, what are the best restaurants in Houston, Texas, Google is going to give me a certain result. But with these large language models, you could say, this is my taste profile. This is what my friend is a vegetarian, or my friend is allergic to these things. And that level of precision when you're searching for information on the internet is what makes it powerful. Whereas Google, if you go in to your search, you're kind of limited to best restaurants in, you know, Los Angeles, right? But when you can add the level of, kind of requirements for what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish in terms of collecting information on the internet, I just see it as infinitely better.
Well, you make a good point there. In fact, so if I Google something, I'm gonna see a specific thing a human made. But if I go to ChatGPT, I'm gonna get a collection of all possibilities.
I Yes, I think maybe a better way to put it, Google is just going to match your results. If I'm a little fuzzy on SEO and how it works. It's been a while, but Google's just going to match the results to what their algorithm for, search engine optimization is. But when you're using a web browser like that's connected to the internet, but it can factor in way more information, you say, "Hey, I'm going to dinner. I need one person is vegetarian, one person wants, Italian, one person prefers this. Like, make a list of recommendations based on our group, and then, rank them according to something." And that's a totally different experience versus you hold that knowledge of what your friends and the people you're going to eat with want, and then you have to kind of sift through Google to say, Italian restaurant. Okay, open up this tab. Italian restaurants that are not that have vegetarian options, and open up another tab. And so that's my take on it. I haven't dug into it a bunch, but from my understanding, that's where OpenAI wants to take it.
Okay, and what you just said is a great analogy of what I want to do.
Hmm.
Current automotive content is a Google result.
Yes,
I want to make the GPT result.
the OpenAI for auto transport.
And content. The
Yeah, I mean,
OpenAI for
yeah,
automotive content. The OpenAI for automotive content. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't know exactly how I would go about that. I can't even say that I'm confident I would be able to make something like that. But I mean, aspirationally, I understand. I just right now, I don't know if I could, if I could
Well, we're on this. We're
bring the
on this
horsepower of
hike together.
OpenAI to ATI.
We are breaching Everest,
Sure.
and we are right now. We're on the footpath. We don't know. No one's ever been up there before. There's no Sherpa.
True. Yeah.
Okay. And those are my favorite climbs, right? I was put on. I don't know much, but I was put here to do crazy climbs
Hmm.
that just hadn't been done before. That's what I do. And we're putting our canoe's already in the water. And what I also like is that we're live, because this is not a singular private club meeting, which is another big problem that automotive has. Is it's all these private meetings. Psst, 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 psst,
Sure.
psst,
Yeah.
psst.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. Nope. Paul Machine says you don't throw out the box, you break the box. Yeah, I mean, and that's why I like spray painting all over the place. It's just there's just it's so bad. It's so bad. We're in this industry is in content purgatory. It's so bad.
I'd be curious to know your thoughts. I mean, I don't tell me if I'm off topic here, but the kind of like the idea of whatever you believe to be gatekeeping in the industry to create the podcast around that, like whatever you think people aren't sharing, and it's, between I don't know the angle. I don't know it as well as you do, but
Yeah.
just kind of making a
Well,
podcast that just puts it all out there and
it's all these individual gates. The gatekeeping, it applies. It would be like, okay, so when you go to a neighborhood and every house has a tall iron fence,
Mhm.
that's automotive.
Mhm.
But everybody put signs on their fence that said, "We love all of our neighbors."
Sure. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. That can't be right.
Yeah, I think
And that's where it's all this, it's all this double talk that doesn't make sense.
there's a lot of ways you could take it because I totally understand because I'm thinking about how it exists in other industries as well. But in terms of putting it out there, I guess kind of reiterating the point, the technology is there, and I think someone wrote in the chat about the ability to prompt your way to do that. It's essentially what it is. You're just prompting your thought process, what interests you, and putting that into these tools to get that out there. Because when you say gatekeeping, I couldn't say, you know, auctions are gatekeeping this or dealerships are gatekeeping that. But the person that can
You just
define
did.
it,
That's actually right. Auctions are gatekeeping this. Dealers are gatekeeping that. That's literally what's happened.
yeah. And so the more you can kind of define that, the more you can kind of illuminate the challenges in the industry and ideally potential solutions so that, everyone listening is gaining some value and not feeling like such an outsider, not feeling like they're, unable to make the progress that they're looking for due to, said gatekeeping.
Man, we're getting late here. We've covered a lot, man. AI driven dude, what?
That's
AI driven self-sailing car carrier fleet. That's insane. Is that true? Hyundai Glovis charts new waters with world's first AI driven self-sailing car carrier fleet.
That's out there for me. I think well, the application here is interesting to me because how many, how many people are managing a ship? Is it a
Right.
team?
It's a small crew.
Yeah, like so is
Small
it a
crew.
team of six and you just put six people?
It was 12, now it's 6.
Yeah, so
Right?
that like I don't know
I
if
know.
like are the savings really there? I'd be curious to know like underneath.
I know. The risk are like if I was the insurance company, I'd be like, okay, but it's not really AI driven, right?
Yeah, it's one of those. That's where sometimes I'm just not quite.
I know this headline is wild. I'm like, okay. Now, but this one, how Renault uses AI to prevent shipping glitches from becoming crisis. And I go to the next page. AI generates 50 alerts a day. Now, this makes a lot of sense. And that's where AI and logistics makes total sense. Because a human being can't keep up with all the minutia. I mean, they can, but they never get
No,
home.
it's not even.
Because, right, if you think of all that's one of the weird things. Let's say you go to the mall and you just randomly throw a baseball.
Yeah,
You're going to hit somebody.
sure.
That's going to cause another problem. Another problem, another problem, another problem. The ball bounces, goes in the fountain. Kid falls off the balcony. Licorice goes everywhere. I mean, I don't know what happened. That's logistics. And shit happens. So if you're on if you have 6,000 moving vehicles, you're going to have 50 problems at a time. You would need AI to not only monitor, but then predict and execute contingency plans.
Yeah, I think, a lot of really smart people are going to try and tackle this problem. I'll say why I'm not the biggest believer in this space is because until everything's truly connected, meaning whatever dispatching tool that the carrier is using is connected to the broker's TMS or CRM, and that's connected to the shipper's order management system or CRM, until all of those tools play nice. Yes, there are a million chain reactions, but if you can only see like 100 of them, is that really worth it? And I don't know, just based on the nature, especially on logistics, having worked in automotive for so many years, everyone's got like carrier A might be on a spreadsheet, carrier B might be using super dispatch, broker A might be using a spreadsheet, broker B might be using central dispatch, broker C might be using super dispatch, broker D might be using run, but like you can start to see how the data just isn't connected that way. So it gets really tricky when you're talking about AI predicting a lot of things to that degree up until all of the, access to data and everything just flows smoothly, if that makes sense.
Well, it does, which means the opportunity is now while things aren't all connected, which seems strange because if the future is perfection, then we reach the singularity where competition is decreased and then you can't make the difference you were hoping to make. Now I'm stuck in a paradox. But the thing is, we know it's true because we talked earlier about personalization. Scraping LinkedIn can't do that. Scraping
Mhm.
YouTube, trouble there. And I was talking to somebody, if not you, about how the Central Dispatch lawsuit against Super Dispatch
Mhm.
lays down as a reminder to everybody that we are not going to be connecting technologies. So
Yeah.
anybody that was connecting to Central to try to create a seamless experience, that just got set backward.
Yeah, and that's essentially what I'm saying is so that's a perfect point. I'm not as familiar with the lawsuit. The way I think about it is that I don't have an opinion either way. I do understand people who have built that moat are going to want to protect it. And so, as new players are entering the market, there's no incentive for anybody to say, I'm just going to share this because it kind of prevents them from having the control on the marketplace that they do. So if you do all this work to build a marketplace, it kind of makes sense why they do it. The result of that, I believe, is just going to be it's going to be harder to have the, AI prediction and all the bells and whistles you hear people talking about. It's really only an inch deep. Like it's really not that. It's not going to be as um, useful as we think it could be. It's like if you're on one platform and that platform connects with your tool and other tools, great. But as soon as there's kind of a link broken in the chain, as soon as someone's using a spreadsheet, or as soon as someone's not using that platform, or as soon as someone's using anything different, you lose the possibilities. And so that's where I'm not trying to be such a pessimist. I just don't see an incentive for anybody to really play nice together. And that's where, the potential for AI and logistics kind of gets shut down, in my opinion.
Well, and that's the thing is that, as you just said, we were talking about trying to build a tool for 925, and we're not going to be able to do that as readily because let's say we were trying to build a okay, so AI news you can use
Mhm.
plus logistics dispatch carrier advice tool in one ATI media something or other. Well, when we go to Hey 925, it looks like you're leaving Atlanta. We can help you look at loads and contact brokers. If we can't integrate with the load board with those loads, we're not going to be able to execute on that idea, right?
That's a great point. Like that's exactly where you find the limitations of the tools are out there, the technology is advancing at such a rapid pace, but it's the restrictions around it that make it really difficult. Um, Access to data is everything in this AI world. So that's where, you know, I, and I think as long as you think about, as long as you're not depending on another platform to create something useful, you're generally safe. It's just whenever for your tool to work or for it to be really useful, if you need to connect a lot of different players, that's when it gets tricky because your tool is amazing if everybody plays ball, but if one person drops, your tool is instantly kneecapped. And so that's where it's really tricky. And I think to give an example of where it could work, going back to the voice AI thing, let me know if I'm going just kind of riffing here, but let's use 925 as an example. If you can use an AI agent to call on your behalf, but you could also use it to train your skill set. So one of the use cases that came up that I've heard is like just general sales training. So 30 minutes a day, you practice calling a broker, and the AI agent is your sales trainer. And so you're just working through like negotiation tactics, you're working through sales techniques, they're giving you objections, you're responding. Like these are some of the real applications that you normally wouldn't think about, whether you're dispatch training, how do you negotiate? How do you respond in this scenario where somebody tries to lowball you? How do you get them to the terms that you want? So these are the interesting use cases that are coming up, and it's we're just kind of limited to our imagination here.
So that's it. That's pretty cool. So because dispatcher training, we're already kind of into. We could have AI. So AI news you can use. Then we have previous ATI shows, ATI show summaries, and then we can have dispatcher training and scenarios. And if we have those three things, then we don't have to worry about being locked out of the helping you search for loads right now. I mean,
Yeah,
it'd be nice,
yeah,
and because a partnership like that's never going to happen.
yeah, and that's what I look for. I mean, and again, this is just me putting on like the hat of someone trying to build a company. I would look for those opportunities, and anybody who's watching this, feel free to build it, go make a bunch of money, knock yourself out. But these are the things that I think about, like training, negotiating, handling objections. Most people couldn't afford to pay for starting a business and paying for some expensive course, but what if the dispatch course that you offered was, you know,
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, a lot of it applies, and we're going to do that future show. So let me ask you this. All right, this is good. We're rounding it out. We're at an hour 47 minutes. Thank you, David. Okay, we have these three parts: AI news you can use, previous ATI show summaries, dispatcher training, and scenarios. What GPT can we use? We know the voice is at 11 Labs, but what GPT can we use to start building a prototype of this next level ATI AI content add on?
the cool thing about a lot of the tools, and right now is that there are um, kind of platforms that allow you to plug and play. So if you want to switch between 11 labs or a different um, voice tool, it's just picking from a different list. If you want to generate a script from a different tool, that's just selecting which tool. So I, think of it more as configuration versus programming. It's more of you're just selecting options, you're turning dials up and down until something feels right. And I know that's a gross oversimplification, but
Yeah, it's a bit
uh,
simple. Well, I'm not worried about the voice so much. By the way, I was just thinking, I sent you an MP4, but I can send you MP3s.
no, MP4 is fine. It should be. I'll let
Oh,
you know
okay.
if anything,
Okay.
if I can't get the transcript from it.
All right, so here's what I'm itching to know. I want to see a prototype. Now
Okay,
put on my Steve Jobs hat.
sure.
I want to see a prototype I'm just going to say by the end of the year.
Of which one or all of
Perfect. Okay. So ATI AI, I'm going to say the ATI AI bot, okay? The ATI AI bot is audio only,
okay.
okay? It's audio only. I'm not worried about what's on the screen at first. Could be a picture of a bot. I don't care what it is. We're focused on the audio, okay?
Okay.
ATI AI bot, audio only, and it's 5 minutes long, okay? And it contains AI news you can use. So that's current GPT searchable stuff, right? I'm not in control of the AI news
Sure.
because who is? Sam Altman.
So you
Okay,
asked me to say.
right. All right. The second part of the bot is previous ATI show summaries, which I'll feed you the MP4, right? So we'll keep it simple. It'll just be a previous recent show,
Okay.
MP4 of a previous recent show,
Good.
okay? Of a previous recent show. Then the dispatcher training series, which this should be helpful. Um let's see here. Let me show you this web page that I had created on when you go to atiautobusiness.com and you click on resources. This is a dedicated page to the 4 dispatcher training series YouTube shows, which if I need to send you the MP4s, I can do that, right? Because these may not be scrapable because it's YouTube. And then these arrows, when you click a down arrow, you're downloading the PDF of the dispatcher training series Excel sheet, which contains all the cells of all the data. Which in my mind, I'm thinking like, if the ATI AI bot could access, let's dispatcher training PDFs, for example. This is PDF number 1. Dispatcher beginner training intro to dispatching, okay? If the AI could search the spreadsheet, I'm assuming it could, right? Could AI search this spreadsheet? It's an Excel spreadsheet output to a PDF.
Yeah. I mean, in some way, yeah.
Theoretically. So if I said so maybe the AI bot says, "Do you know the value of being a dispatcher?" Here it is, right here. Do you know Hey, 925, do you know the value? It's speed, time, ability, phone calls, communication, improve the right? Couldn't AI use this information to give 925 his know the value of being a dispatcher tip of the day?
I mean, I don't see anything here that would lead me to believe that's not possible. I think the question I'm asking myself right now is that, do you educate people for where we are right now? Do you help people figure out, where things are going to be in a year or two? And when you're thinking through dispatching training, talking through being on the forefront of voice AI and building these tools, is dispatching, and I know this might ruffle some feathers, but will it be a human interaction in 2 years, 3 years from now? And I, it could partially be fully automated, but there might be a component where a human has to handle some of it, but I do wonder whether that's going to
So,
be,
uh,
that I do
so
really wonder if that's going to be a thing.
okay, we want the ATI bot to get to the point where it mixes AI news you can use and dispatcher training and starts to question itself.
That could be interesting.
Yeah, let's do that.
There's so many ways you could take it. With unlimited time and resources, we could build everything. It's just, what you tell me what would be the most useful. Yeah, by the end of the year, we can figure something
Well,
out.
this is cool. 925 put in the chat. I often play around with Bolt, which, David, you talked about on a previous show. And now we have real interactivity, which is something that I want from the future bot. Is that way 925 can say, yeah, 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 yeah. I know that. Tell me more about Bolt.
Yeah, like I could tell 925 right now, depending on what he's trying to build. If, I don't know how technical he is, but there's what we used to rely on in terms of hoping that existing software providers created for us. If you're proficient enough in using tools like Bolt, you can create exactly what you need for your business. So if he's thinking, my accounting software doesn't do this, or my booking software doesn't do this, he's able to create that now. The only kind of caveat here is that there is a level of understanding of how to build software that's really important. And you can, tell them, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or any of these areas because I have frameworks and methods to making sure you get the most out of these tools. But it's just a different era in terms of software and what's possible, where if you recognize a problem in your business, you can go straight to Bolt, kind of talk through it, prompt it, and then you can have an application that is a custom solution for your business. Now, again, the caveat being you do have to maintain the software. So if it breaks, if there's features that you want to implement, you have to be able to manage it, but it's possible. That's really exciting to me.
Well, you just brought up another part of interactivity and personalization of the future ATI AI bot, which is, hey, I'm loving this content. Just get me David,
Hmm.
right? And the
Hmm.
show stops, and now it's dialing you or whatever. We don't. Nothing like that exists right now.
Yeah.
We don't have that.
No, not even, I haven't seen anything remotely close to that.
No. And isn't that what networking is really all about? And marketing and advertising? It's to deliver you to a call to action, which is also something that's not really happening right now. I saw a thing, this guy was still talking about direct mail, and I thought, okay, direct mail has its place, but how much mail is just laying on the ground that it's not drawing a call to action?
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, that's the ultimate. Yeah.
I mean, it kind of goes back to the point I was making of there's a different medium now that we're all living through, where you could even call it the TikTok like AI of TikTok or something. I don't know, that's might not be the best name, but we're consuming content at such a rapid pace where you might, if you're doom scrolling in an hour, you might see 1,000 pieces of content. And like people are trying to adjust to that. So it's just matching that up and matching, you have a preference in your mind, Jay, which is subjective to you. But the more you can kind of define that and say, this is what good content would look like in our industry, then I really think we're just a couple prompts away from putting something out there that's useful and entertaining or informative or, whatever you want to do.
So you just said something really interesting. Doom scrolling. I've been introduced to this term recently, and the fact that you just said it proves that it's not just a couple people doing it.
Oh no, I'm guilty. Yeah, I'm super.
What we're all doing it. And yet we're pretending that nobody does this. That it's just us. Right? I'm the only one doom scrolling. Everybody's doom scrolling. And when you're trapped in a general session at a trade show, you know where you're doom scrolling? On your phone while they're talking on stage. Well, that's crazy. We got to incorporate doom scrolling into content. That's why I do these crazy news segments, because I believe I'm tapping into the way we actually behave, not the way we pretend to behave.
No, absolutely. That's why I was mentioning the reels component or the stories component because you a podcast could work, but it could be a short form piece of content where it's the AI generated doom scrolling stopper. Someone scrolling through this. Oh, I see something. It's in my industry. I watch. I engage, watch the 30, 45-second clip. It helped. It could help a 9 to 5. It could help, anybody in any one of the areas in the flywheel for the show and, just see what happens. I just like I think all in all, what I'm saying is the possibilities are endless. It's just really where you want to take it and how you want to help people.
I also have this, as you were saying that, I was thinking, I think what I didn't realize I was trying to express is that, have you seen The Accountant where Ben Affleck plays like an autistic accountant, but he's
Yeah, I
also
just watched the second
okay,
one
all right.
this past weekend. Yeah,
I heard the second one wasn't as good.
I think I like. Yeah, I
Yeah,
prefer the first. Yeah,
the first one's really good,
yeah,
and as part of his self treatment, he's got the strobe lights and he's rubbing the thing on
yeah,
his leg and all
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
And I think that the strobe lights and the leg thing is kind of like my news segment where we get the ADD out of your system because, dude, we've been talking for an hour and a half
Yeah.
and the views are pretty solid. But I think that's because part of what we did was we helped get rid of some of that craziness, or at least we acknowledged it within the show. Anyways, the reason I pointed that out is it's very important that this ATI AI bot continues this tradition of multitasking real life ADD,
Sure. Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Because if we can do that, we're gonna have a hit before anybody even else tried this.
I think so. I think it's and again, it to try to simplify it is thinking through just like a technical implementation, not that everybody cares, but imagine this is the power of AI to give you an example. One show, but we tell it to create 10 different scripts. One script is comedic, one script is just direct, one is satirical, one is, tells it like a sad story, one tells it from the perspective of Jay, one tells it from the perspective like generate 10 scripts, you generate 10 audio files of the same thing, and then you generate 10 visuals of the same thing. Like that's the power of this stuff right now. So just planting that seed, but I don't
That's
know.
amazing.
Just with all the advancements, it's really incredible what you can create.
That's a crazy idea. I like that because honestly, I think those tones gets back into trying to appeal to different verticals. I think some verticals they just literally have different tones, but that's more of a psychological philosophical discussion that may not even hit the mark. All right, so we have you and I already have. Didn't we put a show on the calendar about dispatch AI?
Um, I know we talked about it. I think you
August 28th.
did you send?
AI voice dispatch.
Yeah, I don't know if you sent we did talk about it. Yeah, that works for me. I think the hardest part, and I would love to bring this to the show. I got nothing to sell. It really is just I want to
Me
show
neither.
what's possible.
Yeah.
Like when I heard an agent that I built talk to somebody and that person had no clue. It was such a weird moment. And I don't want to scare anyone, so I just want to show people what's possible. So that, whether it's 9 to 5 or anyone trying to grow their business, you don't have to stick to the old way. You can see what's out there, try what's new, see if it works for you. And
And you know what? If we can educate and entertain bombastically, then people won't be so depressed that they have no more freedom of speech on social media.
oh
I know
yeah,
it's weird. That was a weird thing to say.
I
But
mean,
all right, so all
I,
right, so August 28th,
yeah.
I really do believe we've lost our freedom of speech. We don't even know it. That's why I made that comment about this content violates terms of use. And I'm like, dude, it's literally I shared a news story tonight that had to do with the content that
Mhm.
violated the chat GPT's terms of use. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
That's where we're going. Everything's going to violate terms of use in the near future.
Yeah, there's a
I
great
really
deal of
believe that.
censorship
I think
going
that's where
on.
we're
I
headed.
do
And we
understand.
don't even know it. We think we're making America great again. No, we're making America more like China. Golly. And I'm proud that I'm one of the first guys that's going to say more people are going to jump on this truth bandwagon.
Mhm.
It's just going to take a little bit more pain.
Yeah, it's really hard to say.
We're in for a lot of fucking pain, man.
Yeah, I think
Oh
so.
my god. Oh shit. All right. So and everything's on the table when it comes to news you can use. But we're AI news you can use is the thing we want to focus on. All right. August 28th, we're going to do a Dispatch AI show. We're going to focus on Dispatch AI.
Let's do it. Yeah.
But we're going to come back for part 3 of AI Auto Podcast in we're gonna make this we're gonna do this a while. Make this next one. I'm thinking like October. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that works. I'm pretty flexible.
But is that too far away?
We can play it by ear. I mean, if I'm sure we'll talk about this off
Yeah,
air.
we need to have an offline conversation.
Yeah.
All right. So I will schedule you for August 28th. Let's have a meeting then in uh maybe like Tuesday, August 5th. You want to have a meeting Tuesday, August 5th?
Whatever works. Yeah, I'm usually just under the hood building stuff, so okay, I can
Okay.
come up for air for that.
Schedule a meeting with David Tuesday, August 5th about part 3. And what we're going to do too is anybody listening, and Moozy, you set up that link and stuff, 925 is listening, please do, send me an email, autotransportintel@gmail.com, with if there's anything that on this show that you was a takeaway or an idea or something you want to contribute to the ATI AI bot. Because David said it too. Like, this isn't something he or I'm not going to try to sell it. We're not building something to sell. We're actually doing something else. This is something else nobody in automotive is doing. We're building something for the community, not something for us to sell. Whatever community is left in automotive, I don't even know what community is left in automotive. Because it's all advertising. Everybody's advertising.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think, you know, bring your recommendations. Tell us, I mean, we're not on the outside looking in, but to some degree, I feel like I'm on the outside looking in where I mean, we can build a lot of stuff, but I just want to make something that would be helpful and useful and kind of let
Well,
let the people pull us in the direction where they wanted to go.
it's funny. I had this meeting today because we're going to do the show on July 31st. And by the way, 925, wow, 925 is loving the show. Thanks to both you guys. Already marked my calendar. The show is beyond measures. I'd love to be part of this show and grow. 925, yeah, man. I'll tell you what, not here, do this. And I was just talking about it. For anybody listening, and 925, the next show, I'm not going live every week anymore because there's no point. There's no need. There's no community. But there's still some business to do. And on July 31st, we're going to do new car hauling business 101 advice. And that means anybody who is a current car hauler, we want to hear, what's your feedback? What would you say to the new guy, right? And everybody runs into the new guy somewhere. What, truck stop, auction, dealership. And during my meeting with Constantine and Sue today about this show, I was expressing how, and you can hear it when I talk, I'm just so down on the automotive industry just because it's so fucking gated and fake. People are, golly, they just disappoint me endlessly. And unfortunately, one of the people who was supposed to be a part of this channel and just really, such a letdown. I just drove that final stake in my pessimism. Now I'm extremely pessimistic. And then what I've seen from the fallout from their crapola, it is so depressing. The lack of actual community. And people say one thing and then they do another. It's awful. And they'd probably say it about me, which means we're all just completely disjointed. But there is still some trade to be learned and passed on and improved. And I suppose my contribution is still in logistics. So that's what Thursday, July 31st is about. New Car Hauler 101. So we encourage anybody who still gives a shit about auto logistics to tune in. Because when I say that, I think a lot of brokers, they don't really care about the carrier. They're just trying to make money. But they say they really care about the carrier. And back and forth. Many carriers don't understand brokers, tech companies, this and that. It's just awful. There's just this total, it's just a money grab. That's what's happened. And I think that's what's happened when, after a while of beating your head against, trying to build community. How about the brokers that did try to build carrier programs and those carriers screwed them? What are you left with? You're not going to care anymore. I think that's what's happened. So there is no training manual in auto logistics. And you see this. Like if somebody wants to be a car hauler, where do they go? They go to YouTube. They watch a video about a guy that said you make a bunch of money. That doesn't work out. We want to try to make a show that's actually meaningful. I don't even know if that's possible. It wasn't even my idea.
I mean, I think it's totally possible. 2 or 3 years ago, I interviewed somewhere between 75 to 100 owner operators. And, what you said about, they meet these guys at truck stops. People really like whatever the owner operator who's been in business for 2 or 3 years more than the guy who just got in the market or just got in the business, their word is, the Bible to them. So I remember hearing people say, "Well, this is what Joe does, so this is what I do." But it's, unless they go on YouTube or, there's all these sources and none of it's really useful or valuable. And then they follow Joe's advice. They're in business for 12 months. They go out of business. And then the next group of eager participants who watch YouTube videos on how to make a bunch of money jump in, and then the cycle continues. So I really do believe there's some value that you can add there. And yeah, I think it's very needed.
I'm going to add this too, is I know that some of what I said is like, wow, that's some crazy dark stuff, Jay. But I know there's a group that built this program that a section of it is all about transportation and logistics,
Mhm.
but they never really talk to transporters. And I'm like, well then, what are you teaching? And
Very,
so right, so I like what you're right. It becomes Joe said it, so that's what I do. That is
all
where
the,
we're at
literally what
because there's a lack of centralized. All right, Jay, you've had your soapbox out long enough, gone crazy. But I like most of this show. Some of it got a little nuts, but
it
there were
happens.
some great ideas, and 925's on fire for it. So I'll see you. Please do try to join the live chat on the 31st. And I'm not the car. I don't drive a truck, right? So I can't. I'm not the expert. I'm just the host of the channel, where people are welcome to come on and try to help. Okay. So if you think of anything that a new car hauler should know, please email me, autotransportintel@gmail.com. Please join the live chat on Thursday, noon, July 31st. And David, I'm really excited about your voice AI agent ideas. By the way, there's a guy, Tony, MVP Dispatch. I think he built a voice AI agent, and I think he's coming on in October.
Oh yeah, I'd love to hear what he's got going on.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not
That
trying to
guy's
build
freaking smart.
any.
Well, there's so many people with so much info.
Yeah,
I put you in that. You're part of that group, man. It's always awesome talking to you. We just did a 2-hour show. Mark is like, dude, hang up the phone. You guys keep talking. All right, Dave. Thank you,
well,
David.
thanks for
Thank you
having
so
me, Jay.
much, man.
Yeah, great to be here. Good seeing you as always, and yeah, I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.
I'll send you an email. We'll be in touch.
Sounds good. Take
Thanks,
care.
buddy.
All right,
All right,
bye.
see ya. Bye. All right. Wow. He just keeps talking and talking. He's positive and then he's negative and he goes deep down in the I actually don't know what my baseline mood really is anymore because I'm just so disappointed at the way people have been acting. It's so disappointing. I can't wrap my arms around it. And I'm not gonna hound anybody. I'm not trolling anybody. I'm not gonna bother anybody. They don't want to talk to me. That's fine. All right, we won't talk. But it is disappointing, man. And some of the emails that I read about some of the news going on with companies, I'm like, wow, that's pretty interesting. It's too bad we don't talk anymore. We could totally do a show about that, but we're not going to because we don't talk anymore. So disappointing. Oh my gosh. Wow. What a disappointing industry. It's unbelievable. So if you still work in it and you have something you want to share, let me know or don't. We'll still do shows occasionally, but yeah, dude, I need a drink. I'm ready for a drink. I'm gonna have I think I'm gonna have a Canadian whiskey with a little bit of club. Canadian whiskey club. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do that, and but we're gonna keep making shows periodically. And I'm so glad that we got tonight's show off the ground. We were this close to not doing a show tonight, and I'm really glad that happened. And I really, I want to say this: I missed some of the live chat on my last live show, and the live chat. I love you guys. I love you, live chat. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate it. It's amazing. So, and David Ray and everybody for tuning in. Jay, hang up the phone. Thanks, everybody. Join us on July 31st for new Car Hauling Business 101 tips and advice. We'll see you then. Here comes the car hauler. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much.